Hi again, folks. This is the Serial Cynic, and I'm back again with a video that I've wanted to do for some time now. Um, so I'm getting the time to do so now. Um, there's so many different ways I can go with this, and I guess I'm just going to wing it, okay? As you can tell, I don't usually have any written scripts for when I'm doing my videos, so I don't sound like one of those super eloquent people who are reading from a computer screen and there are no mistakes made in their dialogue. So I'm just going to go ahead and wing it. But I think it's pertinent, and maybe some people may not think about it like this, but it actually is pertinent. As you saw from a video I posted yesterday talking about chemtrails, I'm not a guy who's exactly big on conspiracy theories. Some of them, like I've mentioned in past videos, have come to pass. Some of them are true, but I think a lot of them are just from the mind of paranoia. But you can pretty much understand why some people will feel certain ways, because it's the old, once I get burned one time, I don't trust anything from you after that. And that's pretty understandable. So if you have the government, like say the United States government, doing something shady, if something else happens again, people are most likely to believe they're the ones involved again. Just giving an example, okay? But anyway, today what I want to talk about, believe it or not, is one of the greatest pieces of literature in the world of conspiracy theories. Now, people may not put the two together, but hopefully when I'm done with this, you'll understand what I mean. It's in a book that is the bestseller for years now, for centuries now, and it would be the Bible. Again, if you look at my other videos, you know, the Bible is a book that I have a great deal of respect for. And it's going to sound kind of weird because I don't really believe in the Bible, meaning that I don't live by it, I don't take it to heart, but I find it a valuable piece of literature in terms of explaining some things historical, because I love history. And it helps to give me some insight into the ancient world. It's one of those channels where I can read that book and kind of get an idea of the mindset of the ancient world, at least in that part of the world where the book was actually written, or the contents that it describes. But inside that book, the very last book of that Bible, the book of Revelation, if you really think about it, it is like one big gigantic 20 some odd chapters full of conspiracy theories. Now, before I get to that, let me explain something. As I explained in one of my other videos, people who are prone to following conspiracy theories, I mean, you could have all types. Intelligent people, stupid people, people with degrees, people with none, highly educated people, people who are not educated. But one of the reasons why conspiracy theories sell, or why they appeal to a lot of people, it comes down to this thing when it comes to us as humans. When we feel we're not in control of a situation, when we feel we don't understand the situation, the human mind just can't fathom not knowing something or not understanding something. It's just like the inherent notion in our heads that we can't understand. Once we've been born and we come into this world and we have self-awareness, there is something about us that we just can't see ourselves not existing anymore. It's that survival instinct that we have. That even when we're dead and gone, we've created concepts that we're still alive somewhere. So it's a similar type of thing that happens with conspiracy theories. It's one of these things where when there's no control, when we can't control something, we got to fill in answers somewhere. It's called gaps in our knowledge, as some people call it. And those gaps in our knowledge, we got to fill in something. In the ancient past, and still to this very day, we fill in those gaps with God, or the devil, or the government, or some secret society. We fill in those gaps. Think about it. That's what we do. See a young, healthy person today. They die tomorrow unexpectedly. We don't know what happened. Doctors don't know what happened. For comfort, hey, God just knew in his best wisdom, this, that, whatever. Something creepy happens in a home somewhere. Oh, it must be demons, it must be devils, it must be a ghost. When we don't know something, or we don't understand, or we don't have the full picture, our minds just go ahead and fill in certain things. Well, when it comes to conspiracy theories, that's generally how it goes. In the case of the ancient world, in the ancient Jewish world, the New Testament world, at the time the Jews are going through an existential, let me not even try to use that word, but basically they felt that their existence was at stake. And in this case, they were under the Roman government at the time, Roman domination. And this was conflicting with an idea that the Jews were having, that they were just basically being trodden on and trampled upon by Gentile nations. First was the Babylonians. If you want to go back a little further, the Assyrians, then the Babylonians, then the Greeks, then the Persians, then the Greeks, then the Romans. They saw it as a temporary thing where their God was punishing them and the times of the Gentiles were coming to an end. There were radical Jews who believed that the Romans were just, and Rome especially, was just a seat of Satan, seeking to dominate and destroy the people of God represented in Jerusalem. And they believed that the time was near, that a cosmic Messiah was going to come and deliver Israel and restore her to her former glory. And her former glory was to be the head of all nations. This is how they were looking at it. And that ancient Jewish world, New Testament times, was rife with messianic expectations. That he was going to come and he was going to deliver and he was going to fight. And he was going to lift up Israel, destroy all her enemies, bring down Rome. And it was in that world that the person we know as Jesus Christ was born into. Whether he existed or not, that's another video. But I'm going to go with the idea that he existed. This is the world that he came into. And of course, because of his teachings, because of his radical ideas, followers cling to him and look to him like he was the Messiah. There were other people running around claiming they were the Messiah, anointed of God to deliver Israel. But he was lauded as such. And so they looked on and figured, hey, this guy is the Messiah. Check him out. He's healing people. He's doing that. Now, I am sure a lot of that stuff is just fabrications built around his legend to show or prove that he was qualified to be such. But anyway, if we follow the narrative, and especially this is the day after Easter, if we follow the narrative, he was killed. And according to Christianity, he rose from the dead and went about his business. Of course, I don't believe any of that. But anyway, that's the belief, that he died, rose again, and went about his business. But in the Christian community, during that time, or not long after, or somewhere down the road, there was this notion that he was going to return. So you could see how it worked out back then. Just say this guy is Jesus, and a group of people are saying, hey, that guy is the Messiah. Of course, there were other people running around claiming they were such, or people believing there was such, or there was a belief that there was a Messiah amongst the people, or there was one who was coming. Well, for the Christian sect, this guy known as Jesus is who they held up as being the Messiah. So he died. I'm sure people came to them, hey, this Messiah guy you guys were talking about, I thought you guys said he was the Messiah. Wasn't he strung up by the Romans and executed the other day? So how could he be the Messiah? How do you answer something like that? You respond by, well, yeah, he's still the Messiah, man. You know, he died, but he had to because he's trying to save us from our sins. It's just the way, that's the way that's his MO. That's the way he's working. So yeah, he died, but hey, guess what, man? He rose from the dead, you know. Oh, he did? Yeah, he rose from the dead, man. He's gone off to build some mansions for us. He's up there constructing them right now. He's coming back. He is? Yeah, he's coming back. So right now, man, we're living in those last days. Just watch. He'll be back. Have you read Matthew chapter 24? I'm just joking, because I wasn't around at the time. He's coming back. Check it out. So you may laugh and say, ha 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 ha, you're a Jesus Messiah guy. He's dead. So the Christian community apparently came up with this idea that, yeah, he died. Yeah, we'll accept that he died. Yeah, you guys saw he was crucified. But he is risen, and he's gone off to heaven to sit at his Father's right hand, but he's coming back. And when he comes back, he's not going to be a happy guy. And when he comes back the first time he came, he didn't come to, overthrow Rome and all that kind of stuff. No, he didn't do that. He was just trying to just talk to us to get ourselves prepared for the kingdom that is coming, the kingdom that he's bringing. He was just trying to get us prepared. So he didn't really come the first time to really do any damage like that. He just coming to get us prepared. But when he comes a second time, man, he's going to come with fire out of his eyes. Enter the book of Revelation. If you read the very first few verses of that book, it is unmistakable. The writer who is writing is basically telling you that Jesus is coming quickly. Get your house in order. He's writing to them and telling them these things are going to come to pass any day now, because the end is near. Jesus comes quickly. And of course, the writer puts it in the mouth of Jesus, behold, I come quickly. That was what, 2,000 years ago? Guess you have to figure out, what does he mean by quickly? But let's be real here. Let's be realistic, and we're not going to go with trying to move the goalposts like Christians do and try to come up with all sorts of explanations why Jesus hasn't come back in 2,000 years. Let's just forget all that nonsense. And let's just go with the reality of what's going on. The writer at the time, during a national crisis, looking at Rome as being this dangerous, evil den of iniquity, looking to destroy the people of God. Of course, the Jews themselves, the non-Christian Jews, they believe that the Romans were out to destroy the people of God. Where have we heard this before? White people want to kill off black people. But anyway, where have we heard this before? But that was their belief. Out of that Jewish community came the Christian community, and they took it more to a spiritual level. That Rome is driven by this evil entity known as the devil. It's the seat of Satan, and it's out to destroy spiritual Israel, the Jews who became Christians or who followed the Christ. And needless to say, the rest of the book goes on to be a conspiracy theory. And if you read it, it would be just like you were looking at YouTube today. And the book tells you Rome is this, Rome is that, and it's all of this and it's all of that. And this is going to happen. And Jesus is going to crack the sky and come back and destroy Rome. And Rome is out to do this, and Rome is out to get us, and Rome is this, and Rome is that. And if you ever had to look at the Roman Empire, yes, they did conquer the land that we call Israel today. They were under, they were the government or the power that ruled over that land. And you can understand the people there not being too happy with a foreign invader being in their land. But for the most part, Rome was one of those places where it was just basically, hey, you're under us, just pay your taxes. And Rome gave Israel the Jews a lot of leeway. Hey, worship your God, do whatever you want to do over there. Just pay us our taxes. But to hear the writer tell it, it was like the Roman government is this evil entity and they're ruled by Satan and they're out for no good and they're out for blood and they want to just destroy our people. And the writer goes on to tell you all these things in symbolic detail about Antichrist and this is going to happen, and in the long run Jesus is going to come and destroy and do all these things. Now, according to the writer, all these things were going to happen in his time or not too long after his time, but everything was climaxing and coming to an end. And Jesus was going to come back, destroy Rome, bring it down, tear it down, and establish his 1,000-year kingdom. And was going to deal with Satan directly once and for all. Now, if you think about it, 2,000 years later, not one thing that the book of Revelation mentioned has come to pass. Now, of course, you will have Christians, especially Seventh-day Adventists, and also, will jump in and say, well, hey, Rome is no longer here. Well, after that was written in the book of Revelation, the Roman Empire went on for another 300-400 years. And then it was basically followed by the Holy Roman Empire. It went on for another few hundred years. So all this grand language that was written about Rome and what was supposed to happen to her never came to pass. And we're 2,000 years in the future, and there's still a city called Rome. Still has a powerful force out there known as the Vatican. Still there. And you still have people today chanting down Babylon. Babylon and Rome. And Rome is still here with us today. So if you were reading that book back in those days, or when it went out into circulation or whatever, you're reading it. It's like YouTube. Oh, look at this. Oh, the Roman government. Oh, the Roman government is this. Oh, the Romans. Rome is this. All kind of conspiracies flying left and right. And what's going to happen? And none of it came to pass. So I look at the book of Revelation like one of the greatest works of conspiracy theory. And none of it came to pass. So when people sit down and they're saying the same things today, oh, the big bad government, oh, there's a cabal of evil people out there. They're out there to kill off black people. They're out there to kill off all of us. They're dropping chemicals from the sky. They're poisoning our waters intentionally. They're looking to kill us all. They want to wipe all of us out. Now, of course, this is an evolutionary thing because we're all about self-preservation. We're all about surviving. And anytime we feel that there's anything that's a threat to our survival, a hint, a sniff of it, we tend to become rather paranoid, understandably. And especially if there have been attempts to do this, or seeming attempts to do this, we tend to start building narratives around that paranoia. That this group or that group is out to get us, and they're trying to do this. And it does not mean that we've not had genocides in the history of man. We have. And so some people will be rather gun shy and just think no good of a group that may have tried to exterminate them in the past. And again, the human mind will go ahead with conspiracies, and it becomes very confusing at that point. What is truth? What is fact? What is just make-believe? What is fantasy? What is projection? And so forth. So when people come to me and they tell me about the book of Revelation and what it says and what goes on there, it was written for a time. It was written for a particular group of people. Has nothing to do with us today. But I give it as an illustration just to show you that even in the Bible, you have conspiracy theories. And like a lot of conspiracy theories today, when nothing happens, when they fail to materialize, like people say, or when the facts actually do come out, the conspiracy theories just get shoved under the rug. Nobody talks about them. You don't find a bunch of videos on YouTube right now where a person is getting up and saying, hey, let's go through these conspiracy theories one by one. What happened to this one? What happened to that one? What happened to this one? You remember you said this was going to happen? Remember you said that was going to happen? And nothing happened? Nothing came of it? But somehow they just magically just ease under the rug until the next conspiracy theory comes up. A few years ago, Ebola was supposed to be killing all black people. Now, here in the United States, if I remember, I think there was only one black person that died, and this is a gentleman that traveled to Africa and came back, if I'm not mistaken. This does not mean that you didn't have people in Africa itself who died. But eventually, it was stemmed. It's probably going to pop up again. And no, you don't have millions of Africans dying from Ebola. And you don't have black people over here dying from it either. But I'm just giving that as one example. Because again, when it came out, you had websites, you had Facebook feeds going around the place saying this is going on, that's going on, they're trying to kill black people, and they're trying to do this, and they're trying to do that. Nothing of the sort happened. And it just died down, got shoved under a rug like nothing ever happened, like no one ever said anything. I know it's not easy, but we have to be careful in this world. When it comes to these conspiracy theories, we have to be really careful. And it goes to show you, because Americans are so gullible for that type of stuff, and because we suck that kind of stuff up so easily, this is why in our last elections, the Russian government was able to take that mentality that Americans have and use it against them. Hillary Clinton is sacrificing babies at some pizza place or whatever, some nonsense like that. And there were people that actually believed that stuff. The Clintons are this, the Clintons are that. And as much as I despise Donald Trump and can't stand him, still, when it comes to conspiracies regarding him, I will go ahead and weigh them and see if they're actually true. I would love to believe they're true. But if I see no basis for them being true, I'm not just going to go ahead and run with it just because I don't like the guy. So you have to be careful out here. And then again, because of all that stuff that went on, we ended up in this age of, to coin a phrase that he came up with or he talks about, fake news. And guess what it does? It comes across our news feeds and we go right ahead and spread it. Send it through WhatsApp, send it through Instagram, and we put all this stuff up. And next thing you know, we have a group of people all panicking and fearful, passing all this information around that never really comes to pass. And it's just that one dies down, gets shoved on the rug, and then all of a sudden another one comes across your newsfeed, pops up. Wow, shocking, whistleblower says. And then nothing comes of it again, gets shoved onto the rug until the next one comes through again. Yes, we got to stay woke, to quote a word that they like to use. We got to stay enlightened. Because, just using the phrases you hear when it comes to conspiracy theory, because they don't want you to know. Because this hidden truth. So we have to be really careful when it comes down to how we look at these things. And just like you're finding all these conspiracy theories, and if you think about it, most of us don't do any research whatsoever. We just see something and it's like, wow, look at what this website says. And most people don't go ahead and say, let me go check out that source. Let me go see what. It's just that we take it, see it, it appeals to our fear and our paranoia. And it's like, it must be true then. And then we just forward it on to our friends, who forward it on to their friends. And before you know it, it's all around the place. And you have this fake news being circulated all around. And the truth, as one person said, is way, way, way back there somewhere trying to catch up. But I guess it's the world we live in, okay? Anyway, just want to just drop this video out there. I'm going to upload it now. You guys can make whatever you want to make of it, okay? Anyway, you take care until the next installment. Your Serial Cynic.